Hello, welcome to Gwent. The devs released all the information about the first major patch that's about to happen in the open beta. At least I consider it a major patch, and we're gonna talk about how you might want to prepare for it, and how to get started once it hits. And of course, I try to keep this as short as possible, but also talk about what I need to talk about. So, where to close beta language and whether cards affect golds or not. So this is just like a UI change again. Milling values for commons and rares doubled. That's very important in the long haul. It's gonna help you get those legendaries, and those duplicate kegs will feel a lot better. Players who previously purchased kegs will get 30 scraps for each. So if you actually wanna buy kegs, this is the best time, because you're gonna get extra value for it. You don't even have to open it. You can just buy it right now. Just something to keep in mind. Leader cards won't be available in the leveling rewards. Because every 10 levels, starting at 20, you get a random legendary. So leader cards that can be earned for free won't pop out. And a lot of those players who already got them, I guess they won't be... They're screwed, but at least they won't be getting them anymore. Meteorite powder tutorial will be refunded. Yeah, you lost like 100 powder by your... The game forced you to craft a clear sky, so that's kind of a premium clear sky. Challenges for consoles are fixed. Challenges the decks made more difficult, so they actually a challenge. Yeah. Improved localization. End of round scream now bugged and fixed. Scale opening scream now has tooltips for keywords, so you can hover over the keywords, so to learn what it does. Working on reconnect system for disconnects, yeah. Cards which received a change that CDPR feels lower power will have 5 days to mill for full value. Premiums currently stated to get full scrap value back. 1,600 scrap for premium legendaries instead of 800 scrap and 400 powder. Now, I would love to talk about their refund system here, but the important part, just to like bottom line this, if you have extra powder lying around, you can just use it to turn it into 800 scraps. So if that is more important for you, you have the option to do that. You can just craft for 800 scrap a legendary and upgrade it. Then you can just scrap it for 1,600. The big question is, will you be able to do that in the limited time frame? Or does it only work if you have it before? I would assume that you will have the options to do it. And players might even buy powder just to keep doing that and get legendaries of their choice. So watch out for that. And this is the millable cards. These are the cards that are gonna get refunded fully. So keep that in mind. And if you have any of these pop up in a keg, then you probably should just pick it. And but not Kahir. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't really worth talking about these. These are the cards that were nerfed, and they only refund cards that they feel got weaker. So R&R 2 per row instead of 3. Drought 2 per row instead of 3. Same thing, so they got 1 point weaker. So Drought basically applies rain now, and R&R applies fog to every row. It's okay. I think they still, R&R at least, could still see some play. Before, they were a bit ridiculous. Like, R&R was a little bit ridiculous. This is more reasonable, in my opinion. Drought, possibly not so much. Skeleton Stone from left to right instead of right to left. Yeah, this is a minor change. Got to redeem, remove the ability to draw the golds if tie or lose. A minor change for most part. The card is underpowered. Mert from 6 to 4. Mert is a very, very, very popular card for a good reason, because it's 6 power plus 2 burns in the same card, but also the delayed effect is not always a disadvantage, because sometimes you go up against scoia'tael or something like that, and your opponent doesn't have the option just to play stuff last and just get away with it. Because the dragon is gonna trigger. And it's gonna get burned down. Wyrm Tempered is very brutal. It's basically 2 Scorch plus a gold body. So, yes, I'm not sure this is gonna be enough. Even if he was 0 strength, I'm pretty sure that some decks would run it. Even if it was 1 strength, some decks would run it. Like, of course, if like shackling it would be... Shackling it is more enticing now, because you actually like shackle up, you spend a bronze unit, and they only get a... You spend a bronze card, and they only gonna get like a 4/0 value. Unless they unlock it some way. But actually unlocking it is a lot easier than locking it. And I guess locking is another topic that I would love to talk about, but I won't really go into in this video. Siri, rest in peace. I love you, girl. 75. I'm not even sure if this means the end for her at all, because she used to be 6 in the open beta, in the closed beta, and she was very popular. As a 7, she was like a must include in every single deck. As a 5, I don't know. It's not that big of a deal, actually. It is pretty big deal, gotta be said. But I don't know, we just have to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see her quite a lot still, because you don't really want to play her twice. You just want to play her once. If you can, it doesn't really matter, because if you can just play her in the perfect scenario, then your opponent's still gonna be in a very awkward spot. But as a 5, especially with the roast change from 5 to 4, she will be a lot less threatening, because best case scenario, you're gonna slap her down on the board as a 9, and before that she was a 12, and 12 was really hard to beat for many decks. But a 9 is a lot easier to beat, and as a 5, it's gonna be give you a lot less room just to get the maximum value out of her. Because the thing you have to consider is that you won't be able to really like, let's assume you won the first round. If you play Siri and your opponent doesn't have anything on the board second round, you can just do an open pass against them. But if you like play Siri and you just like get a 5 power, basically anything they do will like overpower Siri. Of course, you still gonna get Siri back, but it's the same card advantage, and you're running Siri, and you have to mulligan her away. I don't know. It could be still really good, in first round. If you have the opportunity, if you're down like 3 points, and you play Siri, and you get into the lead with Siri, and your opponent has the option to get into the lead with 1 card, but actually it's gonna cost him 2, because you're gonna get back Siri if he goes into the lead. Well, we shall see. It definitely will affect her V rate, especially with this roast change, because before that you could just slap her down as a 12 as an opening move in the first round, and your opponent sometimes just didn't have an answer. They're like, okay, that was it, I guess. And if your opponent tried to fight that, then he might just lose the game because of it. So I understand this change, and I guess I like it. So we shall see. Sarah, 7 to 8. I think that's very reasonable. And Johnny from 5 to 7. So you just discard gold, and you get a random gold. And Sarah discard a card and get a random card of identical rarity. Sarah puts that card back into your deck, and Johnny discards that card, and so that's the difference. So Johnny is better in a discard deck, and also pretty good with Siri Dash. Vesemir from 6 to 7, bumping up the Witchers from 16 to 17. Will that make them good enough to run? I don't think so. I really don't think so, but I guess they are getting closer to the crones. But I just don't really like the difference between the Witchers and the crones. Because the Witchers, like, the crones are like a must include, and the Witchers are like, no one includes them. And that's kind of like, okay, that's not good. I understand that the crones are faction specific, but still. Anyway, monsters. So Dagon got nerfed from a 7 to a 6. And that's a... I don't know if that was justified. He could tempo. Don't get me wrong. He could tempo. He spawns a fog effect because he's always used as a fog creator. He spawns a fog, gets out the foglets, and starts damaging right away with the fog. But I think this will further push Erdin to be the true leader of the Master faction, and somewhat the Unseen Elder as well. Because Erdin can always just spawn a Wild Hunt guy, and you can just get a Frost out with that, and that's pretty good. I don't know. Dagon should be still okay. I'm not really sure if this nerf was warranted. So that's it. Wyvern changed from 6 deals 2 damage to an extra 3 if behind as an 11 to like 6 plus 3 damage always. I don't know. It seems a bit weakish. So overall, it's a nerf. And it's more reliable, but it's a nerf. So is a 9 power bronze unit good enough to include? Even if it deals damage? I don't know. Celiano Harpy from a 5 to 4. Yeah, it's gonna drop from a 6 up front. That and when the eggs die, it's gonna be 6 later. So it's gonna be a 12 overall that also provides 3 bodies. It's still a good card, but it would be more popular in consume for sure, and it could also backfire because if you can't pop the eggs, you're just playing the harpies last, then they're just 6 power, and that's really not good. I'm not sure if that's enough, but I guess that's fine. Because you get their power over 2 turns. Unseen Elder, we should see. Definitely will lessen its popularity, but I think it's still gonna be an auto-include. Mainly because you don't really have a lot of choices in monsters. Unseen Elder from 4 to 5. Yeah, Neckers get buffed up. Unseen Elder, that is a pointless buff. Unless we can, we need to consider the Consume Master synergy. And considering that the Consume Master is getting buffed across the board, this could help. This could work. Except Karen, so they're moving away from from fat golds, and the Shadow triggering the Deathwish effect. That's just not gonna be relevant. But the Consume Masters are getting buffed across the board, and is that gonna be good enough? Well, gotta be said, this adds up, like 1 power, like another 1 power. Also, this could also mean like more spiders spawned. So this could add up to a lot. This could add up to like, I don't know, 1 or 2 cards, and that could just be push it. I think the Consume Master archetype is not weak, but it is a somewhat passive archetype. It is weak to shutting. It can be shut down. If the eggs get popped early, or the spider gets taken out, then it's not, or the brands get taken out. It's an archetype that can get disrupted. But if it doesn't get disrupted, it can get a lot of power. And I'm curious to see if it can work in the next patch. Neutral only the effects, frost effect on your opponent's side. So it's a slight buff to Neutral, but frankly irrelevant because he's just too weak. Frightening now pulls 1 unit to his row instead of scares 2 enemies. Yeah, that's not really great. It's a buff, but it's just not really in character in my opinion. Stays on until no fog exists anywhere on the board. Foglet. So again, slight buff to the Foglet. Consume bug fixed. This apparently, Foiler Hack apparently counted as a consume. That is no longer the case. They also reverted the change that all the mages are gonna be 4 power. Langbrook for Hunter, added regressing and remove a veteran. So it no longer buffs up by 1 every following turn. And regressing, so the base strength it gains by its ability that every time an adjacent unit is damaged, it gains a base strength. Then that is lost across the turn. So it doesn't matter if it gets up to like 20 base strength first round. The second round, it's gonna be I don't know, 7. Can clan and create Warcrier effort from 2 to 1. So the wounding archetype is gonna be a lot more viable. Is it viable enough? Hard to see. Hard to say at this point. But and also they increase the discard. So clan and create warrior from 8 to 9. So they are just making the wounding archetype a lot better. Juta, same. Savage Bear, skill priority move to the right. Yeah. So basically the bear shoots after the units hit the board and they do something. It shoots after that. And also it has 2 more strength. So it's basically a Trebuchet 2.0 now. And it just like keeps murdering people every time they just pop on the board. So Savage Bear, and actually the X-Men guys are not weak whatsoever, so the Savage Bear could really work out. I think this is one to watch out for. Savage Bear is gonna be pretty savage, especially combined with the X-Men guys that are already pretty strong. Queen's Guard, they don't have veteran, and they went from 3 to 4. So they are not as crazy last round, but they are actually better first round. So who knows? Maybe you can actually just push with them. That would be crazy if you can just like 2-turn people with Queen's Guard. That would be actually very viable because you start out with Queen's Guard, you dump him into the graveyard. Let's say they don't get interrupted right away. You get them out, you buff them back, and you win the round. Then you get them out right away, first thing next turn, and that could really crush your opponent. Maybe you don't even have to buff them up, because they're gonna have a like pretty respectable power on their own. Cambi from 3 to 1, Hamdall to 12 to 11. So again, just a little bit of a love to Cambi. Just in case you're not familiar with Cambi, it's just like you play her at the opponent's board, and after 3 turns, it just blows up everything except golds, and they get this Hamdall guy that has 11 power. It works well with the Hjalmar. Spawns a silver. The end of the row. Consistency, yeah. Hjalmar, it's just a 25 strength gold if you can kill the kill the guy that spawns. Udaric, now you must pick one of the 2 cards. Yeah, this was just a bug fix because you have the option to not pick a card when you play Udaric. War Longship buff from 5 to 6. King Bramba buff from 3 to 4. Clandemon Pirate from 4 to 5. Svarig from 5 to 6. Isn't it a 7? I think yes. This card got buffs all around. So this might push this card to be pretty good. Because this card was okay already. Like, it was not completely unviable. And I'm kind of curious if it will be the next thing. Because, okay, the longships can be shut down. You put them down and they can be shut down. But the pirate captains actually get pretty buffed up. And you can also just get a lot of value by discarding. So, no realms. Red of it, now toggles lock on any unit. Only deals damage if enemy. 3 to 4, Reaver Hunter. 6 to 4. What? Oh, 3 to 4. Yeah, it looks a little bit messy. Now the point is, so Red of it has the ability to also toggle the lock of allied units. It doesn't affect. It's no other change. You can also use it to unlock. So if you have units that you want to unlock, then Red of it is your man. This is easier to get value from him because you don't have to have 2 enemies that you wanna lock, but also like you can have your friendly unit that you just wanna unlock. Yeah, Reaver Hunters got nerfed from 6 to 4. Yeah, they were ridiculous. Taylor, must pick card, no canceling. Wow, this guy's really selling this card. The point is, again, this is another bug fix. So you have to pick a card between the 2 choices, or one choice if there's only one choice. And if you canceled it before, then you just didn't get a card. That's just dumb. Captain Sergeant, Agile boost, loyal only, gains crewman. So yeah, I don't know if it's the machine style is gonna be good enough. Pavetta returns the lowest units for both players. 7 strength, 0 depth from 3 to 4. But by buffing the 0 depth to 4, then it doesn't synergize anymore with the blue stripes commandos. So that's not a thing anymore. So it's basically a Vault Hound that has less strength, but it has the versatility to, or maybe you can just run any bronze vetter, but you definitely have the versatility here too. Like you can, if you like fog, you can run fog. You like rain, you can run rain, and Azure Adapt is not so bad. And it's nice to see that no Ram can run better, and maybe this is gonna be a decent thing. Adrian from 4 to 5. Unfortunately, Adrian is just like very weak, so that's not gonna help him. I believe he was a 6 in the open beta, or maybe even an 8, and no one used them. So yeah. And it was exactly the same. He just had more power, and no one used him, so he's crap. Dumbbell Heavy Cavalry from 2 to 3. A slight buff. Not even sure. Not sure if it's gonna be good enough, because the rest of the armor guys didn't really get buffed up. And some decks got a little bit nerfed. Others got a little bit buffed. So overall, I would say the armor archetype is gonna be dead. And these ballistas from 4 to 6. It shoots for 2, so it's an 8 right away, and with the crewmen it's gonna be a 10 and a 12. So it can 6 shoot for 6. Of course, the problem with the machine archetype is that you need to kill stuff. Machine archetype could be good against like consume monster, for example. If you can just like murderize the consume guys, it's great. But then your opponent would need to heavily rely on units. And the way it evolved in the past, always the least interactive strategy was the best. If your opponent can mess with you, then and you still have a lot of strength, then that is the best. And I'm not so sure if it's gonna be great. Just trying to mess with your opponent all the time. Redeeming Knight from 5 to 6. Not too excited about that guy. Reinforced Siege Tower from 5 to 6 again. So again, all around buffs to the machine archetype. We shall see if it's good enough. Vest from a 6 to 7. Now that's pretty exciting, because if you manage to get any tree on your board, then you're gonna have a 7 power roach running out. And that's just very good. Of course, it's more situational, but at least in Hansel, it should be pretty easy to manage. Bloody Baron buff. completely irrelevant. Dijkstra from 43, and could be a must-have in Northern Realm, especially if you're not running like situational cards that are you really just don't want a top that can use anytime. Blue Stripe Scout against Crewman. Wow. So everything is Crewman now, so it should be a lot easier to make these machines work. And Priscilla shuffled instead of bottom of the deck. That's just Priscilla nerf, so you gotta forget about that one. And she's a terrible card. So scoia'tael, double talent protector from 42, doesn't get buffed from Gold Weather. And minor nerf. Double talent trapper from 45. I have no idea because this is, hands down, the best unit in scoia'tael right now as a 4 power. It's basically a 4 power plus a lacerate, and with one actually almost no delay whatsoever. Because you throw it, and your opponent has the opportunity to answer it, but if they don't answer it, then it's just gonna trigger right away. I think of it like as a Rotasser, and your opponent has like 1 turn to answer it. Rotasser is a 6 power, and your opponent has 2 turns to answer it. And the Rotasser is an epidemic, and this is a lacerate. I would say Trapper is better. I don't know, maybe that's what they want. It can be shut down, for sure. It can be just, your opponent might just like snipe it, like 1 power, and it's over. Or just eat it with the bear. It's useless, you just did nothing. And it can get shut down, maybe this is justified. I think this is justified with crafty opponents, and I think that's fine. But if your opponent is not ready for it, you're just gonna get 5 power plus the lacerate. And of course, if you just move them away, I guess this could be okay. So who knows? I don't know. They obviously felt that this is needed, but it's a very powerful unit. One for sure, this is a very powerful unit under the right circumstances, if not countered. You can just like throw lacerate plus get 5 power out of it. Anyway, Vreed Officer from 5 to 7, and Vreed Sapper from 6 to 7. So these are the Mulligan archetype guys. Freed Brigade. Fixed test to show it removes weather from the row, moves target to its row. Yeah. So this is a move and remove weather. This is just a Mulligan archetype. I really hope the Mulligan archetype is gonna be good. Barclay Rest, no longer able to summon Gold Dwarfs. Wow! A nerf to Barclay? Okay. But I guess it makes sense. Blue Mountain Commando buff from 2 to 3. Makes sense. It was just way too weak before to see any inclusion in any deck. Moran from 5 to 6. It's still garbage. 6 power, silver card that hits for 5. The next time your opponent plays a unit, that's beyond garbage. Slight Milva buff, that's nice to see. Especially could be good with cards that have very powerful on play effects. For example, like let's say Double Talent Trapper. You can just, for example, your opponent has like a buffed up Impera Brigade, and or I don't know, just something buffed up, or even nothing. You can just send back your own unit with Milva and activate their own play effect again. And if your opponent has like buffed up units, then you can just also get something out of that, because you send back their unit and they need to replay it, and their buffs are lost. So Milva, I don't know. I wanna see Milva return. So I'm kind of curious if it will do it. Elias, it's not really gonna work. Synthesis, I just call her Sassy. And no. This is just not good enough. He gets +1 for every elf or dwarf. And yeah, you would need to like run all the dwarves and elves, and even like that, she's terrible. So I don't know. It could work, but you know, this would need to be like at least a 10 to really go anywhere. Idlin from 2 to 4. Still good. You can just rally out 2 bronzes or play 2 Thunderbolt Potion. Idlin is a good card, and probably a very good pickup if you're just looking for a generally useful scoia'tael card. Francesca from 4 to 6. That's a huge buff to a weak archetype, because mulliganing was not too useful, but like this, it might be good enough. So, I don't know. It seems like a very smart archetype and then a very like thinking man's archetype. So I definitely want to check it out, and it could be strong enough. This is the kind of deck that might just have a special combo that just like really crushes your opponent. And especially compared with these Vreed Sappers, you can just like put these Vreed Sappers down, you put down 2, then just mulligan away cards, get some extra value from that, plus the Vreed Sappers hit you like crazy. This could work. Free Dragoon only buffs loyal units, so you can buff off spies. That's just an extra advantage. Dwarven Merc, able to move opponents, only buffs allies, so you can just move them into weather, I guess. Commando Neophyte, remove 2 armor, 6-7. Sure. So, oh, wait a second. Oh yeah, I was referring to the wrong guy. The Reed Sapper is the ambush guy that flips over. It's the Commando Neophyte, is the one that has 7 power and shoots them for 2 every time you mulligan a card. My bad. Mahakam Guard, Dwarf boost from 5 to 4. So Mahakam Guard, slight nerf. Not really sure why, but looks like the power level of bronzes seem to be around like 9. That's what they kind of want to go for. At least the bronzes that just like don't really take a lot of setup. Anyway, so this mulligan archetype could work in my opinion. The dwarves only got weaker, and I'm not sure if it's gonna be good enough. And the spell archetype might be still the best because they only got a little bit weaker, and I don't think it's gonna matter for the most part. If the meta is not ready for that, the spell scoia'tael is just gonna completely wreck people. Especially if they just get cheeky, because before players used a lot of cards like Kairun and Tibor, but if they use cards that can be interacted with and can be owned by Vetter and like removal effects, then it's gonna be a completely different story. And if you just can mess with them, then the spell scoia'tael will definitely mess with them. And I would like if spell scoia'tael wasn't really just only about just spamming a lot of spell and getting these guys up to a crazy high level, crazy high power. I would like if these guys buffed up by 2 for every spell played. I don't know. Let's say they have 1 strength. Buff up by 2 for every spell played, up to 6 spells. Something like that. So you need to play all the spells, and if you do that, you're gonna have a 13 power guy, something like that. So you don't have to go all in on spells, but you do have to run a fair bit of spells. And spells that play spells and other spells like Arrowmancy into Vetter, like those would only count as 1. I don't know. My point is, I just don't really like that the spell scoia'tael and an 8 archetype is just like only playing like 3 units and go all in on spells. So anyway, Mangona buff from 5 to 6. So this is just a slight buff to the reveal. For the most part, it's just extremely slight. It's like 3 points overall at most. Because this doesn't really save the Mangona from any particular removal. Like anything that hits for 5. Actually, this could save from like the Skellige guy that hits for 5. But it's not a lot. Junk have 8 from 4 to 3. Golems now trigger after his entire sequence. So this means that he can actually just trigger the hero power and might just see golems, and that sucks. I think this... And also, the golems have like 2 power now. Imperial golems are free to do. This could seriously, especially with this buff, this could seriously lower their popularity, and I think they're gonna be dead now. Because no one wants to see 3 golems. Not me. Kair from 5 to 4. Yeah, it was a pretty good card. Yeah. So, makes sense. Make the nerf makes sense for sure. Recoil novice from 3 to 2. Yeah, 3 to 1, I mean. And that's again a very justified nerf right there. And it's gonna be count on the same power level as the Resurrector. Require medic. It's doomed now, so it just disappears. It never goes into the graveyard. Yeah. And the Enforcer is weaker as well. Top unit changed to top card. So you can't just have all the Enforcers in your hand and all the golds and nothing else in your deck. And but like one return series. And all the Enforcers are just gonna be gold now. And that's not how it works. Ambassador bug fix to ensure they will always buff 10. Yeah, they sometimes buff for 12 if you use it with the novice. So the Nilfgaard is losing tempo and value as well. And I think that's kind of justified. And the bug fix, they're now foot soldiers. Oh yeah, sometimes they didn't draw if they died, so they're now foot soldiers always will draw. Peter from 6 to 4. So it looks like the base cards from 5 to 4 and Peter from 6 to 4 are getting nerfed because they were pretty good. And anyone who really threw their hat in with Nilfgaard might just find out that the faction is not as strong as anymore. Finger of Eagle, 2 to 1 when spying. Yeah, so you might be able to get away with more buffs, but I don't know. So the point is you place some spies next to a big guy, then make the big guy a 2 strength. And Finger of Eagle can do that. So it's like a pseudo removal, like a pseudo scorch. I don't know, I like the card, but Nilfgaard does tend to have a lot of competition for its silvers. As you have another hit, cannot reshuffle gold cards. I guess that makes sense. Rain Farm from 6 to 4. And they actually wanted to buff him up from 6 to 7. And like this, it's gonna be a lot weaker card. So I guess I totally agree with that. Tibor also getting nerfed. And Leto is bugfix, can play on any row. So that's it. So it looks like Nilfgaard is overall gonna get weaker. Except maybe the reveal archetype. Not much done to Emir, but Emir really didn't have a style. Scoia'tael dwarves are gonna be slightly weaker. Not sure if that's justified. And the spell Scoia'tael is gonna be slightly weaker too, but it was by far the best. And Mulligan might be interesting, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be great. And Northern Realms, it's hard to say. The machine archetype is hard to judge. Armor only got a slight buff, and it was completely unviable before. And I guess we can see some maybe better Northern Realm too. So looks like the good thing about Northern Realm is that they have a lot of versatility, mainly because they all suck. Or the units all suck. River Hunter, it's got a big nerf, so that's not gonna carry them anymore. And that's about it. So I'm not sure if the faction is gonna be good, but they do have some good cards. So we shall see. Skellige, well, the wounding archetype and the damaging archetype got a lot stronger. So I don't know, and the discard archetype. So I wouldn't be surprised to see even more Skellige than before. And I know that sounds crazy, but this could be huge. Also, consume monsters. And Dagon got a little nerf overall, but the consume monsters are just straight up better now. Maybe it's gonna be great. And the neutral card changes, yeah, we talked about that. So maybe the Skellige is the biggest winner of this patch. So that looks like that's the case. It didn't look like it after the first dev stream, but after the second one, it kind of looks like it. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Stay awesome, guys.